Life is all about celebrating the little things, folks. We get it. This team's probably not going to be championship contenders. We get it. This team probably is never going to have Giannis Antetokounmpo. But one thing that we get is a W in Phoenix to improve to 28-24 on the season. Not all is lost. And what a win it was. Spinsanity, big defensive moments, a 25-7 run to end it. And a lot of talk about Porzingis today. That's straight ahead on today's Locked On Dubs.
You are Locked On Warriors, your daily Golden State Warriors podcast.
What are they going to say now?
Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yeah, baby. What do you say, everyone? Welcome to the Locked On Warriors. We are part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. We're free and available wherever you get your audio podcasts. Check us out on YouTube. Very much appreciate you all for hanging out with us. Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. If you're a new customer, bet just $5. You'll get $200 in bonus bets if you win. I'm the host of the show. My name's Charlie Walter. Covered the team for 95.7 and for CBS in the past. Kolsky for 95.7 and for KNBR. All right, man. How about the Golden State Warriors today? On today's show, a little LFG, a little Spinsanity. Kristaps Porzingis talks, and then I put dead, and then in parentheses line, is this team dead? Do we have a pulse? We'll talk about all these things. But first of all, we were going to spend about 90 seconds on this game if it was trending towards how it was looking with about 5 minutes to go. The Warriors pick up the energy. I mean, by the end of the game, the bench was fired up, man. I mean, Porzingis was feeling a little under the weather, but aside from that, everyone stormed the floor. Curry was freaking ecstatic about that win, and as he should be, man. Santos with 18, Melton with 17, Spencer 20, Horford gives him 13, and Gary Payton 15. This is exactly what you needed after a deadline that just felt a little bit not good. Let's put it that way. An energizing win against a team that, frankly, has some dudes that are pretty unlikable.
God, are they disgusting without Devin Booker, man? It's that's a satisfying win. And nothing more satisfying than watching Dylan Brooks dribble around uselessly, just getting absolutely owned by Moses Moody and DeAnthony Melton for 20 seconds before taking a bad three. I loved that. Beautiful stuff. Feel good win, on a night where, like you said, you could have written off a loss pretty easily. No Steph, just made this trade. Obviously, Jimmy's not there. It's a weird state of affairs, and nobody would have blinked an eye if they had rolled over when they were down 10 midway through the fourth quarter, but they didn't. So I think you feel good about it. Yeah, absolutely.
Pat had 5 threes by the time the fans got their popcorn, finished with a career-high 6 of them in the game, a career-high 20 points. Earlier in the season, we got a lot of Spinsanity. We had some moments where it felt like Pat may enter the rotation consistently, be a dude. Typically, it was when Curry was off the floor, not in uniform. And again, Curry off the floor, not in uniform. Pat Spencer steps up, 6 of 11, had 6 rebounds, 4 assists, couple of steals, played hard as hell. Pretty much everyone was good except for Brandon Podziemski, who was sick, kind of similar to that Houston game where it was, frankly, a little odd that Steve Kerr put him back into the game with how just bad he looked, frankly. 0-3 from the floor. He did nothing. He was a minus 21, but takeaway pods, and the team had a lot of energy, ton of effort, and they looked decent, man. One of the storylines that I think we can get into is Draymond Green down the stretch going to the scorer's table to check in, and the Warriors deciding not to go with Green in the final moments. They ride with Gee, with Melton, with Moses, with Pat, and I believe it was Horford. Peyton had a stretch in there too, hit some big shots, but it was mainly those 6 dudes with a little bit of will sprinkled in down the stretch that picked up this win.
I don't want to even do the Pat Spencer thing again, so I'm going to ignore his part of it. DeAnthony Melton was incredible tonight, and the three wasn't falling. He's not a knockdown three-point shooter, so he's going to have nights like that. But he was incredible tonight on both ends of the floor, and I don't know if he's just they don't want to play him more than 25 minutes because he was just under 25. But when he was out there, they looked like the better team, and when he was not out there, they looked like the Suns were going to run him out of the building. So he was absolutely the difference tonight. I think almost as noteworthy as what the Warriors did without Draymond in the fourth quarter is how invisible he was throughout the course of the game. I mean, as visible and impressive as DeAnthony Melton was, that's how invisible and unremarkable Draymond Green was tonight. It just didn't seem like it was a game for him. And, that kind of makes sense because, this was really just whether the Warriors could score. Like, the Suns had nothing for them, really. There's nothing on the Suns that scares you when Devin Booker is not there. But, like they do sometimes with this team, the Warriors went through big stretches where they just couldn't put the ball in the basket, and that's why they were down. So in games like that, that's where Draymond looks his least helpful. Draymond does so many things as the third best player on a really good team. We've seen it. They win titles like that, right? He is not the sort of third best player that can help you when your first two players aren't there to score. It's just not the situation for him.
No, and the chat brings up a good point, man, because the Warriors, if you've been living under a rock, Patrick Starr style for the last, 48 hours, 24 hours, the Warriors did two moves at the deadline. They traded Trace Jackson-Davis for a future second-round pick from the Lakers. Trace is a Raptor. Thank you for your contributions. And then they traded Kuminga and Buddy Hield to bring in Kristaps Porzingis. They did nothing around the edges to kind of change the roster the way it is and to improve the offensive side of the ball. Buyouts are an option. And typically when you look at the buyout market, I remember when we were doing the radio shows together at 95.7, and the name that was always brought up was Dwight Howard, man. Everyone's like, Dwight, he's killing it over in Taiwan. Bring Dwight in. A name, though, that is kind of interesting because he was let go by the Nets today is a walking bucket in Cam Thomas that can give you 30 points. Now, not a Steve Kerr type of player, but it will be interesting to see if maybe he's a dude that the Warriors look into because he could score.
Yeah, I mean, he's the opposite of Brandon Podziemski. Right? He does none of the little things, but he can get a bucket for you. So everyone who's super frustrated with Brandon Podziemski's yeah, he has scoring nights but he's mostly doing all the little things right, and then if he scores a bonus, Cam Thomas, he scores, and if he does anything else right, it's a bonus. So there's an argument he could help you given how few scorers there are. But
the counter argument is he got cut from the Nets, and they are awful.
That's right. And furthermore, I've said this about a lot of people, but it is most true about Cam Thomas. If the Warriors don't want guys looking off Steph Curry, he is not the dude to sign. Cam Thomas 100% believes he's a better offensive player than Steph Curry right now. He definitely believes that.
All right, let's get to how this game. I don't think he believes that, Kolsky.
He absolutely believes that.
Legend in his own mind.
There's no question in my mind that Cam Thomas at this very moment believes me and Steph, if it's just about who can get a bucket, I'm the guy.
He can get a bucket.
Sure.
He can get a bucket.
Yeah, I mean, he's wrong, but he can get a bucket. Yeah,
he can get a bucket, but he has not had a good season, to say the least. Change of scenery, maybe. You can debate that in the comments. We won't spend any more time on it on this show. What we will talk about coming up is the LFG part of this game. Let's recap how it ended. Let's get into the deadline as a whole, what the Warriors did, where they got better, I mean, it was only one move. So did they get better from this move? Kolsky is yet to react. We had logging off on the show yesterday. So Kolsky will give his final thoughts on the Jonathan Kuminga era. He's got 5 boxes of Kleenex. You're going to want to hear this one. It's coming up on Locked on Dubs.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
Today's episode is brought to you by FanDuel. It's the last call for football on FanDuel. One final Sunday, one last kickoff, the final chance to get in on the action before the NFL season finally comes to a close. This is Super Bowl 60, and FanDuel's making sure you're right in the middle of it with a special offer just in time for the biggest game of the year. Whether you're backing the favorite, riding the underdog, or building one last same-game parlay, this is the game everyone's been waiting for. This is where predictions turn into plays, stats turn into storylines, and every stat feels bigger. It's the perfect way to cap off the season and make the Super Bowl even more exciting from kickoff to the final whistle. If you're a new customer, bet just $5, you'll get $200 in bonus bets if you win. Make it count, because after the Super Bowl, it's season over. Last call for football. It's on FanDuel, an official sportsbook partner of Super Bowl 60. Visit FanDuel.com to get started.
Destroy Jimmy and Domino's. I know Jimmy drinks great wine.
All right, so how this game ended in a nutshell, 25-7 run. I think it started with it was like 10 points with 4 minutes to go, and you didn't feel like the Warriors actually really had a chance, and Gary Payton knocks down a 3, and then, I mean, I think Horford may have had a shot in there. They're down a couple late. I'm thinking to myself, whose hands are the Warriors going to get the ball into if they have a final shot? And we kind of found that answer after a timeout. Warriors down 2. They give it to Melton. Melton scores. Then a great defensive play by Moses Moody on, I believe, Dylan Brooks gets sent the other way. Guy Santos in transition finishes. Curry's going nuts on the bench. Rockets have a chance. Tipped around. They have another chance. As I think someone for the Warriors may have thrown it away, and then it ends up in Melton's hand, who goes the other way, finishes, and man, that was just a victory that the Warriors desperately needed for their morale.
Yeah, it's a feel-good win, and I do think it was a pretty, like a time when they really needed a dose of feel-good. It was Gillespie that Moody blocked on that last, 20 seconds, that play at the bucket. And it was Moody again grabbing the ball away on that final possession and sending it down the other way. A few people have mentioned, and we probably should have gotten to it earlier, Guy. And listen, I know I sent the apology video about Pat earlier in the season, but
no, you didn't, because you sent the apology video from your
hotel never aired?
balcony. Dude, it didn't air. Spinsanity went on for like 4 days, and during that 4-day stretch, his biggest hater from time to time, Matt Kolsky, was on vacation in the tropics. And then as soon as he comes back, Pat doesn't play again. So tonight, this is your opportunity, Kolsky, for a 45-second sonnet to say, I'm sorry, Pat.
No, I was setting up that I'm actually not sorry and never was. I just sent that because I thought it was funny. Pat Spencer is not that good, and tonight was a perfect example. Leading scorer, and he was -3. Turned it over 4 times.
Death, taxes, and Kolsky hating on his guy from Evanston, right down the road.
Yeah, I know.
Dude, he's a hard-nosed player. I mean, he gets every ounce out of the talent that he has, and
I don't disagree with that.
He's an NBA player. He's an NBA player. Maybe last man off the bench.
He's a garbage time. He's a garbage time guy. But I do want to apologize to Guy Santos. That's what I was actually setting up, because
sorry, Pat. What?
That wasn't me.
That was Kolsky.
No, but seriously, Guy Santos. I do think I underestimated Guy Santos. I mean, I always respected the rebounding approach. I always respected the effort and the, he's on task. That's why Steve loves him. He's doing what he's supposed to be doing out there. He doesn't do dumb stuff. He doesn't play outside of himself.
He's starting to score.
Yeah, man. And it's not just the fact that he's scoring. I mean, he's obviously shooting it well, but it's the way that he's getting his buckets. He still doesn't play outside of him. Even though, look, he played 35 minutes tonight. He scored 18 points, but he only took 9 shots. And they're all really good shots. It's pretty much exclusively at the rim and wide open 3-pointers. And when you add just like intelligent, efficient lineups, intelligent, efficient play to some of these lineups that have, just struggle city written all over them. God, he evens things out, and I can really imagine how, as an 8th, 9th man in a playoff rotation, he can really help you. So, like I said, I always had Guy a little ahead of Pat just in terms of how I considered them, but I don't think I had him far enough ahead, and I don't know that I gave him the proper respect as like that guy belongs in the rotation of a winning basketball team. He's not an NBA starter.
You remember what you said in 2024 about Guy Santos, right?
No, what was it? I have a terrible memory.
You said he was the human victory cigar.
Yeah, well, he was at that time. And look, he's gotten a lot better. That's part of it. But I never saw that happening. And so that's why he's the guy I do feel like I need to apologize about. I mean, look, Pat, he's tough as nails, and it's fun because he's so unlikely, because he looks like a county sheriff, and because he's willing to stand on a basketball floor on everyone's television and say, I'm not MFer, when we all know damn well he's not. That's fun. But I guess what I would say is a team that relies on Pat Spencer to play more than 5 or 10 minutes a night is not unlike a team that relies on Dylan Brooks to hit a game-winning shot for them. It's not a good situation. So ideally, he's going back down that rotation once you get Steph back. And then that's what I expect. As far as what this team is moving forward, I don't think we know.
Let's tee you up, Kolsky. Let's tee you up. I'll give you co-host choice.
Okay.
Do you want to hit this from the Kuminga and Hield aspect first, or from the Kristaps Porzingis aspect first? What Porzingis brings, or what the Warriors are giving up type ordeal?
You know what? I think I only have 30 seconds on what they're giving up.
Okay. So
because
here's how I tee this up. Here's how I tee this up for you.
Okay.
This is 5 years in the making, I think, at this point. And the only thing that I could conclude, because I spent all night kind of wondering why the Warriors made this trade, and Steve Kerr mentioned that Celebrini and the entire staff kind of got together and they wouldn't have made this trade if they didn't think they could fix, an expiring contract, a guy that's played 17 games this season, and Kristaps Porzingis. They wouldn't have made this trade if they didn't think he could help this season. But they're going to say that. They have to say that. This, to me, was Kuminga's no more. Like, we're getting off Jonathan Kuminga. We're not dealing with this in the offseason. We're not picking up his player option. This is bygones being bygones. We're not going to attach a first-round pick to him to bring in a player that we don't need. We're not going to attach 3 first-round picks to him to bring in someone that's not going to help this team win. Giannis is off the table. Clearly, they were right with that. So why don't we make the strategic move here to get the guy off the books that's not playing good basketball, that makes marginal money, but is kind of tied to all these options as a Warrior until like 2028, and that's Buddy Hield. So essentially, this move is a salary dump of Buddy Hield. It's kind of how I looked at it.
Yeah, okay.
Gives you flexibility in the offseason, gives you a little more money to work with.
It doesn't.
It gives you $9 million more dollars than you would have had if
it doesn't give you any extra dollars. How? Because you're way over the salary cap. So it's not, you don't get to pay someone else the money that was being paid to Kuminga and Hield. You get access to the mid-level exception, which might be enough to keep DeAnthony Melton. But it does not put you in the running for a significant free agent financially. The Warriors still cannot do that.
Another thing that this did is freed up a roster spot so Pat Spencer could be on the team for good if they wanted to be, because he was running out of games.
This was his last game, actually.
This was his last game. And remember, the Warriors ran into this a couple seasons ago with Ty Jerome, and they weren't able to have him on the playoff roster. And frankly, There were a lot of Ty
Didn't
Jerome
help.
haters at the time. Ty Jerome's been good, man. He's averaging like
Yes.
28 for the Grizzlies their first three of the season.
Yeah, that's 3 games. But yeah, Ty
He's
Jerome
been good.
can ball.
He's been good for the last few years.
Yeah, but Ty Jerome was way better than Pat Spencer. Like, let's try to remember what that looked like, and it didn't. Look
Years
like
ago, we said that about Ty Jerome.
I did not. I never said. The things I'm saying about Pat Spencer, I never said about Ty Jerome. But that's beside the point. You're right, and whether I like Pat Spencer or not, I don't think there's any question he has earned a full roster spot with the service he's put in for this team this season. So I don't have any problem with that. And I think of that as that, that's the TJD part, is freeing up enough, not just look, there's all sorts of machinations with the multiple aprons. That's not true that Buddy was only guaranteed $3 million. You were going to pay Buddy a lot over the next couple years, and he has been an absolute zero this season on the floor. You can't pay a guy, when you're over the load, there's no reason to be paying that guy to hang out with Jimmy Butler. Okay. So who cares?
Game 7, Buddy, though, will go down. I mean,
He did an incredible thing.
It's amazing.
He had a good year last year overall, but he's been awful this year. Just so bad that despite every effort, Steve Kerr couldn't keep him in the rotation. So losing him at this point means nothing to this team. Similarly, Kuminga's barely played. So functionally, we can go back and talk about all the things that were done wrong by both sides of the Warriors-Kuminga drama. I'd rather not, though, because it's over. And at the end of the day, if we're talking about what it means to the 2025-2026 Golden State Warriors, Jonathan Kuminga meant almost nothing. So what you've done is take 2 players who meant virtually nothing to your team and traded them for a guy who you could fairly say you cannot expect him. You can at best have a 50% chance, like 50% hope that he's healthy. But if he is, he can definitely help. He's exactly the sort of player that fits with this team. He does exactly the sort of thing Steve Kerr wants a center to do. He protects the rim. He shoots the 3. Even though he's so damn big and moves so reasonably well, even at his diminished state, that he'd be great. Even the somewhat diminished version of Kristaps Porzingis, if he can get on the floor, would be a great fit for the Warriors, who will make them better, which is more than you can say for either of the guys they traded. So if your argument is, yeah, but he probably won't be on the floor, you very well might be right. But Buddy and Jonathan Kuminga basically weren't on the floor either. So At least this guy helps if he can get on the floor.
Yeah. A couple things. One, Javier says Ty Jerome carried Virginia to an NCAA title. I would argue that team had Kyle Guy, DeAndre Hunter, go up and down the list. Like they were pretty. Did they have Reese Beekman? I mean, that team had some NBA dudes.
I don't know that guy's hating on DeAndre Hunter so much as pointing out that the level for Ty Jerome versus Pat Spencer has always been very different.
Cam Spencer led UConn to a national title, right?
And Cam Spencer's a real NBA player. Yeah.
Okay, fair. The other thing I wanted to get to, I wanted to ask you this, because bygones can be bygones, but we can point to like 6 months ago during the summer where the Warriors had a real offer of, we called it the poo-poo platter. It was Dario Saric, it was Devin Carter, but it was a first-round pick. Would you have taken that knowing what you know now, or would you have taken Porzingis on an expiring? Did the front office bungle that?
Nah, they had already bungled it by then. I mean, is a Kings first rounder more valuable than Kristaps Porzingis? I guess. But yeah, I like someone just said it was a protected pick, so it's not like you were going to get a top 5 out of that.
I think it was top 10 protected.
Yeah, then probably not. Then probably I'd rather have Porzingis, because again, maybe it's a 50% shot at best, but if they do get him healthy, like he's a useful player. He's not Giannis, but he's a useful player, a championship winner.
Let's get into Porzingis, man.
Yeah.
Let's talk more about Kristaps. Let's talk more about the trade, what this means long term. And the Warriors, I guess this is what we heard today, like an hour before the deadline. Mark Spears came on the TV and got everyone just with the biggest tease of all time. He said, what I'm hearing,
Not
they
done.
ain't done yet. They ain't done yet. They were done. They did nothing. And we didn't like it.
I don't think they were done making phone calls. They just they were done getting anything done.
They said, hey, Rob, boop. Hey, Job, boop.
Yeah,
hey,
a lot of that.
Tip, boop. Yeah,
Seems
a lot
right.
of a lot of boops.
Boop.
A lot of boops. Yep.
Boop, boop.
More boops coming up on Locked On Warriors.
And buddy, stop trying to dribble the ball.
Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. There's nothing like being in an NBA arena, the crowd, the energy, the moment. Getting tickets, though, that part has not always been so simple. That's why Game Time has become the go-to app for scoring tickets fast without the hassle. It puts the advantage back where it belongs with the fans. Pull up the Game Time app, find a game, have the tickets locked in within minutes. You'll get all-in prices up front, no surprise fees at checkout. You can check out your view from the seat before making your decision with a panoramic view, last-minute options. Tickets get cheaper the closer you get to tip. It's quick, intuitive, and stress-free from start to finish. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LOCKEDON for $20 off your first purchase. That's code LOCKEDON for $20 off. Download the Game Time app today. And remember, it's gametime.co, not .com. Today's episode is also brought to you by Quo. New year, new systems. This is the time when a lot of us look at the messier parts of how we run our business and think there's got to be a better way. And there is. Streamlining your communications is one of the quickest upgrades you can make. That's why today's episode is brought to you by Quo, spelled Q-U-O, the smarter way to run your business communications. Because when your team is reachable, organized, and communicating in one place, you're not just working cleaner, you're creating more opportunities to connect with customers. Your whole team can call and text from one shared business number so nothing gets missed. Everyone sees full conversation threads. It works right from your phone or computer. They got smart AI tools. So it's no surprise that Quo is the #1 rated business phone system on G2. It's trusted by more than 90,000 businesses. Make this year the year where no opportunity and no customer slips away. Try Quo for free, plus get 20% off your first 6 months when you go to quo.com/LockedOnNBA. That's QUO.com/LockedOnNBA. Quo. No missed calls, no missed customers.
Forget that. We champs. Why are you starting with that question? We got 4 championships.
The fit of Kristaps Porzingis and Steph Curry is enticing, to say the least. The expiring contract is not the worst thing in the world. Again, money coming off the books is not a bad thing for the Dubs right now. That's why I thought they'd potentially look to move Draymond instead of paying him $28 million next season. They don't do that. Draymond lives to see another day as a Warrior. Maybe they look elsewhere with his contract in the offseason, or maybe we just continue this song and dance. But when it comes to Porzingis, he provides legit stretchability, really good touch inside the paint. Not really your traditional post dude, but he can score from the block quite efficiently when he's down there. Does hover around the perimeter a little bit. Not an amazing rebounder for his 7'2" size, but in his best years, someone commented and said he's never averaged 10 rebounds per game. Like I said last show, he averaged 9.5. Okay. We round that up to 10. So in his best years, he can give you 9.5 per game. It's more like a 6-7 type of guy. 36%. Oh, 36%. Sorry, I had to do it. Yeah, sorry. 30. I had to. 36% from three for his career. Shot at 41% last year. You know he's a good shooter when he goes 83% from the line for his career. Just that good shooter, a very rare talent of someone that, like, he was kind of Wemby before Wemby, right? Like, maybe not to that degree, but he was someone that we had never really seen before at 7'2" that had some perimeter skills.
I think he's absolutely Wemby before Wemby. I mean, Wemby's the next level, like, obviously, different level, but remember, everybody called him the unicorn, and we couldn't believe that a 7'3" guy moved the way he does. And you know what? Like, yes, he's 30, maybe even 31, 30 and a half. Well, won't be 31 till next season. So
It's the POTS, though. It's not the injury. It's the autoimmune disorder that really.
But here's what I would say. I'm not a doctor. I think Rick Celebrini is, so I don't. Yes, that's the concern. You know what I mean? And we know Steve Kerr is happy to lie to us. So him saying that, everyone expects him to play Saturday and the rest of the season doesn't mean a lot to me. But if they think they can get him on the floor, I'll give him a chance. I don't.
Yeah, chat.
I don't know what I'm supposed to say about a nervous disorder that I hadn't heard of till I read about it in an article about Kristaps Porzingis a few months ago. It's concerning.
Chat says Katie Ledecky won multiple Olympic gold medals with POTS, but yeah, autoimmune,
different circumstances. But yeah, again, I'm not going to say I understand what that means from a medical standpoint.
Answer this question. Do you believe it's just $30 million in expiring salary? This is essentially Jordan Poole for Chris Paul, or is this a long-term play? Or is this, kind of a gamble where they're like, let's give him half a season. Let's give him a tryout. We're going to be able to possibly get him pretty cheap considering what he's done the last year and a half in terms of availability. So let's potentially get him in on, I don't know if he'd be a minimum type player next season, but he'd definitely be, below 12 million a year, you would have to think at this rate.
I have no idea what he would cost to resign, but I think the answer is yes to what you said, and to what the
tryout,
to what the commenter said. The answer is yes. It's a $30 million expiring salary, but also, yes, but that's the state that they're in. It will give them if that 30 million expiring, assuming he signs for less, if he resigns at all, it will give them a marginal amount of additional financial flexibility with the mid-level exception, which is not nothing. And if he does stay healthy and you do get him at a discount, he could be an incredible value moving forward, even if he's not the centerpiece of a championship contender. Okay. So you just got to be honest with where you're at as a franchise. And I think the Giannis swing, such that it ever happened, was really the last big one that we could talk ourselves into being relevant to title contention. Maybe that gets revisited in the offseason. Maybe there's another championship level superstar who gets disgruntled in the offseason. These things happen in the NBA.
Were you a little surprised, though, man, that they didn't retool around the edges? Like, you see Minnesota trading out Dillingham, bringing in Sumo. You see even the Charlotte Hornets gearing up for things, getting Kobe White and stuff. And then the Warriors just not doing anything.
Is there someone who was moved that you think would have helped them in a meaningful way? Charlotte's in a very different scenario. They're on. I
think Ayo DeSumo would have helped him. I just don't know how you potentially. You don't.
I love Ayo. I think Ayo is an incredible ad for the Timberwolves. He's like a DeAnthony Melton type of player, but the Warriors got DeAnthony Melton and a bunch of other guards already. Is Ayo DeSumo making a difference between the 8th seed and the 5th seed? I don't think so. Do you?
He's young though, and you can kind of.
Yeah,
with him to a certain degree. He can be
Chicago's finest. I love Ayo DeSumo. When the Bulls drafted him, was one of the happiest days, and I legitimately think he puts the Timberwolves in a different tier of championship contention. I am not diminishing what he does, but he's the sort of guy you add when you're on the edge of championship contention, not the sort of guy you add to take you from play-in contention into that conversation, right?
Don't you think it's kind of funny, dude, that the Washington Wizards went out and made all these big swings, bringing in Trae Young and Anthony Davis, and the Warriors, who still have Steph Curry, kind of just stood pat? Is that just kind of where they are with the money and the assets and the tradable assets, to where they could not get off any of these guys and retool at all?
I think they could have had Anthony Davis or Trae Young. Would you want one of those guys? They didn't cost much.
They definitely costed much. Anthony Davis cost like $50 million a year.
No. I mean,
Would it cost you Jimmy Butler?
Well, you didn't have to trade much for them in terms of value, is what I'm saying. Yeah, you might have had to trade. Exactly. That's why he's not here. But they could have had those guys were very available. I think the Wizards are in a situation where they had nothing to lose. They gave up CJ McCollum, not part of the future. Corey Kispert, a fine player, probably not part of the future. They picked up dudes who, if they hit, you've got a pair of pretty good players to make a run at a weak Eastern Conference. If they're not healthy or they don't hit, like, they're expiring contracts as it stands right now, or at least Trae Young is an expiring contract, and Anthony Davis is like kind of you'll move him again you won't lose value if you move him again next year for like a bucket of nails.
What do you think about the Warriors having some interest in JJJ, Jaren Jackson Jr. in the
that's
Jazz
the one
route?
That's the one where you could argue that they missed a chance. And if somebody wanted to make the argument that by, lying to themselves and thinking they were going to get Giannis, they missed out on their best chance to actually improve the team in a meaningful way, which would have been to trade for Jaren Jackson Jr. I would hear that argument. I'm not sure I totally agree with it, because unlike Giannis, and I think we've seen this with Memphis for all this time that Ja's been out, unlike Giannis, in the post-Steph era, Jaren Jackson Jr. is not your centerpiece. He is younger than Giannis, but he's an extremely flawed player in a variety of ways, although he would certainly be the Warriors' second best available player. He's pretty flawed, and he is, I think he makes like $40 million now, but it's 60 next year or something like that. We'd have to look at the details, but there's a big jump coming up in his contract. His extension has not kicked in yet. So yeah, I can understand the argument that that's a missed opportunity, but I'm not sure you'd be so happy next year or 3 years down the line with Jaren Jackson Jr.
All right, have a weekend, everyone. Be diligent with the traffic in San Francisco. Super Bowl down in Santa Clara. Place is popping. Zoo right now.
Hey, maybe Kristaps
Kolsky
is on the floor Saturday. Okay, let's put up our prayer hands emoji. Let's get Kristaps Porzingis. Send him good vibes for his immune disorder.
Yeah, let's get Steph out there. Let's see how the two look together, and let's go from there. I mean, this season it's 28-24. The Wizards have like 13 wins. We're not the Wizards. So when in doubt, glass always half full. We're not the Wizards, Kolsky. Say it with me.
Look at the team you just
kind of wish we were the Hornets, though, to be honest with you. They're feisty.
Yeah, but you always would rather be at the beginning of something than the end, But the difference is the Hornets have never won anything in their entire history, and the Warriors just won 4 titles. So at some point, you got to realize, like, it's not going to be all titles all the time. That being said, you just beat a team that's the team ahead of you in the standings. Like,
big win.
You're not going to compete with Oklahoma City and Denver and Minnesota this year. Fine. But you could compete with the Suns. You could probably compete with the Lakers. Like, 5 through 9 of the West is not as vicious as it might have seemed at one point.
This is Locked On Warriors. Golden State 101, Phoenix 97, a 25-7 run from the Warriors to end it. Got a little Spinsanity. Guy
That's a
Santos
beauty.
got his flowers. Just a big time win in Phoenix. Dub Nation, get hyped. This is Locked On Warriors. We'll see you.
Woo! The zinger.